Hi there guys, welcome back to Classic Shack, and this is the first video of 2025, so it's not going to be a particularly long one, but I'm just going to sort of talk about the status of the projects that we've got on the channel at the minute, and also a reason why I haven't updated in a while. So as we're stood in the garage next to the Landy, let's start with that. Okay then, the Series 3 Landy. This is a 1979, sat on a galvanised chassis with a 200 TDI conversion. Other than that, it's pretty standard. And to be fair, I think it was I only did one video of it last year, which was a pretty small video because the brake lights stopped working. And simple fix, just doing a brake light switch. But as I haven't uploaded a video in quite a while, I did only use the cars for 6 months last year. So in that time, we didn't really have any problems with this. There was the brake light issue, and then when I returned from my trip, which I will talk about in a minute, the car didn't want to run. So it would start but wouldn't tick over, and I didn't film any of the work I did to it. It turned out to be just a loose fuel pipe, so it was sucking in air, so it would start but wouldn't like rev up. So other than that, the Landy has been pretty good. It's had minimal repairs, and we've been out for a few like little rides in it. We don't go that far in it. It doesn't go that quick. So yeah, first on the channel is the Landy, and you might see it again this year if something breaks or we need to do some work to it, or even if we just take it out for a little spin. But yeah, that's pretty much it on this, and let's go over and see the C10. Okay, so here's my 1963 Chevy C10. For anyone that's new here, it's a short bed with a 400 small block in it, and basically it's pretty much standard other than being lowered and a different set of wheels. It's on rally steels. Other than that, pretty standard truck. I've owned it about 11 years, something like that I think, and in the last year there's been mainly videos on this on my channel. I basically rebuilt the front end from here forward, so it had new pattern wings, all the front was repaired and repainted. The bonnet, that had some rust along the front edge, that was repaired and repainted. And it also had some running issues when I first started using it again, because it had been off the road for a couple of years. But other than that, I haven't really done that much to this. We did use it last year to go to the first show I went to in it after refreshing the front end, which was a couple of 100-mile, I think it was maybe 400-mile round trip. That was pretty good, and that was its sort of only really long distance driving we did in it last year. But again, we only used it up until the middle of the year because of what I'm going to talk about towards the end of the video, which is the little trip that I went on. Okay, so this is its current state. It's been laid up for probably 6 or 7 months maybe. It's full of junk in the back. It's not particularly clean, but yeah, let's open the bonnet quick. So before I stopped using it, it did have a new battery that's been disconnected. So when I last used it, it was running a bit rich, and I'd ended up borrowing a distributor cap from a friend. So I have just bought a fuel regulator to go on it and a new distributor. So that's going to be one of the first jobs that's done to this when I get back on it. But yeah, in theory, when the weather's a little bit nicer, it should be a case of just getting back out in this and using it again. Right, I'm inside in the warm because it's a bit on the chilly side outside. So the last bit I'm going to talk about in this video is the reason I haven't done a video in so long, and that is because I went travelling with my wife around America for about 3 months. So here's a picture of the map, and I'll show you quickly what we did. Right. So we flew into New York, where we spent a couple of days. We hired a car, and then we drove all the way down here to Annapolis, then Washington, and then we basically drove down the coast all the way down here, all the way down, stopping along the way, obviously this wasn't in one go, all the way down to Orlando. Basically we stopped there for a few days. We stopped like 1 and 2 days in between at a time, and then when we got to Orlando, I think we had 3 or 4 nights in Orlando. Then we drove down to Miami, but ended up in Key West, where we spent a week. I think it was a week in Key West. We then drove back up around the other side of Florida, along this coast, and when we got to St. Petersburg is when Storm Helene hit. So our plan was to carry on going around the coast, but we ended up having to wait in Orlando for a few days for that to pass, and then we carried on back around the coast, and we went to, let me remember, Pensacola, and then all the way around to New Orleans. We had a couple of days in New Orleans, and then we drove up through the middle. So we had a stop at Nashville for about 4 nights, and then we went through to Indianapolis and Chicago. And the plan was from Chicago then to do Route 66, which basically goes down here like this. So like we were doing before, 1 or maybe 2 nights stopping at each location as we drove down here. And then as we got to Oklahoma City, we took a detour and we went into Dallas. So we stayed at Dallas and Fort Worth, and then we came back up to Route 66, carried along, and then went all the way along here until we get to, I think it was around Albuquerque. Sorry, no, it was Flagstaff. From Flagstaff, we went off the route to go and see Horseshoe Bend and Monument Valley, which is where Forrest Gump was filmed. And then we came back to Route 66, drove along a little bit further to Kingman, and then we went off to Vegas for a little while. Then we got back onto Route 66 and followed it all the way to the end to Santa Monica. Once we got to Santa Monica, we then drove down to San Diego, where we stayed for probably about 4 nights, I think. And then our plan was to drive Highway 1 all the way up here to San Francisco, where we ended up finishing our trip. But Highway 1 is closed for quite a section where the side has fallen into the road, or the road's fallen into the water. So we did as much as we could in this, as much as we could along this route, but ended up having to take detours off it in parts. So yeah, and then we ended up in San Francisco, where we just saw local things really. Went to Alcatraz. So that is the reason that I haven't done a video in a while. And yeah, we had a brilliant time over in the States, and I think we'd love to go back again. Maybe not there for 3 months at a time, due to work and other commitments, but yeah, we had a really great time while we were there. I haven't gone into much detail now, but I might do a separate video with more detail of what we did, and because I did video some bits while I was out there, some bits that interested me for the channel, maybe like car related things, so maybe I'll do a video with some of that in it. And yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I'll be back with more videos soon, whether it's on the truck, the Landy, or a bit more about this American trip. But if you stayed this long, thanks for watching. It'd be great if you can consider subscribing or liking the video, leaving me a comment. And then until the next one, cheers guys, see you later.